What is up, and welcome to Real Advice in Relationships. I'm your host, Keisha, aka Author K.O. Sterling, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the podcast. As you're enjoying today's episodes, please rate this podcast, share this podcast, but most of all, download the podcast episodes. So sit back, turn up that dial, and enjoy this Southern girl share some real advice in relationships. Hey guys, what is up? This is your girl Keisha, aka Author K.O. Sterling, and I'm back today to do another podcast episode. And I hope that today's episode finds you well wherever you're listening to it, whenever you're listening to it. I hope that this finds you well. I am sorry that I have not posted in like a week, maybe 2 weeks. I have been out finishing up another project. I had 2 books that I have that are coming out within the next couple of weeks. So I had to make sure that the editing on those were done and final. As you know, I am also a freelance writer and editor. So I had to make sure my projects were perfectly done, okay? But I am back and living color, loud and in funky effect, okay? And on today, we will be finishing up on the Soul Ties series. At least I think. I could talk about this forever, but I have 1,000,001 other subjects and topics that I'm ready to move on and talk about, okay? But on today, we will be discussing the spiritual consequences of a soul tie. We will be discussing the spiritual consequences on a soul tie, okay? Now, we have discussed in our previous 2 episodes. If you have not listened to those, you may want to check those out, particularly episode 1. But we've discussed how soul ties on our prior episodes affect you mentally. We've also discussed how soul ties can affect you physically, okay? So, in the spiritual sense of soul ties, let me first start by reiterating the definition of what a soul is. Now, the soul is defined as your mind, your will, and your emotions. And it's good to also understand that we as human beings are made up of 3 components: your mind, your body, and your spirit, okay? We are made up of mind, body, and spirit. And some would even say your mind, body, and soul. So, for the sake of the episode, I will use those 2 interchangeably on today, spirit and soul. All right. So, but if and when you find yourself a victim of having a soul tie, you find yourself emotionally attached, or you have these old attractions or these sexual desires for someone who you are no longer with, right? Y'all not together no more. But here it is, time has moved on, and physically you've moved on, but because that was somebody that you freely gave yourself to, that was somebody that you surrendered and submitted the most sacred parts of yourself to, okay? You may still low-key care about that person a little bit. You may still have feelings for him. You may still have feelings for her. You may still think about that person from time to time. And heck, you may be one of those women, that say, he will always have a part of my heart, or that I will always love that person. That was my first love, or, we have some of those people, okay? Some of us do it. I've said crazy stuff like, well, I will always love him. But honey, when I came to the light and I learned better, when you learn better, you do better. When I came to the light, I got free. And guess what? That person stuck, and I'm not stuck any longer because I took back my power. But I done gone off the grid. I wasn't even gonna go there. Okay. Now back to my point. You could always have a special place in your heart for that person. But just think about it. Your body has moved on, but your spirit or your soul is still connected to someone from many moons ago. So I would suggest your first order of business is to figure out, in what way do you love them? Do you love them as a friend? Do you love them as if, this is the one that got away and I still care about him? Or do you love him in the way that, okay, yeah, we had some off the chain sex, okay? Do you love him in that way? Because some people, a lot of us get lust and love misconstrued. A lot of us think that sex is love. Sex is an action item of love. Sex is not love. That's a way to express how you feel about the other person. So therefore, for that reason, that is why soul ties, men and women, will probably always see soul ties in a different manner, okay? Going off topic again. But figure out, in what ways do you love that person, okay? I shared with you guys a little bit of my own story back here a few episodes ago, okay? I had let you guys know that I was just getting out of a sociopathic, narcissistic type of situation. And when we used to say that I love you, he and I, and when my mind still goes back to him, it goes back to the sex. It don't go back to the times we would sit around and talk, because truth be told, it's hard to have a in-depth conversation that is not one-sided with the narcissist or somebody who have sociopathic tendencies. It's hard for them to socially interact with other people. They can pretend and play the part, but especially sociopaths, but as narcissists too. But it's easy for them to pretend and play the part and mimic the behaviors of those around them. But it's hard for them to hold on to that authenticity, because they're not authentic. Okay, they're not authentic people. But if the first thing that comes to my mind about my ex was the off-the-chain sex, you can bet your bottom dollar that is lust. That is not love. But that does not negate that I didn't or do not have a soul tie. I know the question would be, well, like, Keisha, why didn't you leave? Like, why did you didn't you just leave when you started to notice the changes? But we had gotten used to one another. We had been together for a while. And the honest answer to that is that I stayed long enough for a spiritual soul tie to be created. I was well aware that there would be spiritual consequences to that soul tie that I created with that person. Okay, who I was deeply incompatible with. But the heart wants what it wants, right? We want what we want. We want who we want, okay? And I know that many of you listening to this podcast right now, you understand. You understand totally. You may be in a similar situation. You want what you want, right? So you understand where I'm coming from. Just think about it. What is the consequences of having a soul tie and being connected to the right now dude, developing feelings for the in the moment fella, and the potential forever dude comes along and he's trying to holler at you and he's approaching you all single, ready to mingle, but you got Mr. Lay It Down Like No Other waiting in the background, waiting in the wind, who you on the phone with, who you texting, when you're coming over, this, that, and the third. You got him hanging around. So you stuck trying to figure out how to balance the potential forever dude and Mr. Got Your Mind Gone. You trying to figure out how to balance the two. You trying to figure out how to keep one and get rid of the other one. But guess what? You got this new dude. It's going to be hard for him to please you when your body is craving and calling. In episode 1, what did I say? We got some of us got that whole thing R. Kelly said going, my body is calling for you. You with that new dude, but your body is screaming for the old dude that you was with. I said in a Facebook post that I put up a video on my author's page about the soul ties on part 1. Sometimes the ones that lay it down the best, honey, can dog you out and treat your behind the worst. They put in work, okay? Say what you want, say what you will. A lot of times, those type of people don't have anything to offer. So they do what they good at. They maximize their potential on that particular skill, which is sex. And for us, for women, a dude could be not that attractive. He can not treat us the best. But if he can make us feel in the bedroom like, if he could take us to another dimension, we're going to keep him around way longer than what we probably should. Simply because he have good sex. That's it. And we create soul ties with people like that. Okay? Because the truth of the matter is, if you get the potential, the dude with the forever potential dude, how's he going to compete with that? It's hard to keep someone new around, a fresh face. It's hard to keep him around when you got old Bay over there that lay it down like no other. It's hard to keep the new dude entertained because your mind and your body gonna be wanting to go back to what you know and go back to what you are familiar with. And the truth is, the spiritual consequences of a soul ties like this, that new dude ain't got no reason to stay around. Because the truth of the matter is, you have introduced him to a murky situation. He have just walked into a murky situation that he didn't ask to be in. Now, granted, he might got his own stuff going on. He probably has his own stuff going on. But we ain't talking about him. We talking about a situation dealing with you right now at this moment, or it's some, in a scenario form. We want that potential forever dude to stay around. But why would he if we got all of that going on, y'all? But like I said, again, the spiritual consequences of a soul tie like that, if in fact that man end up cutting the corner, the potential forever dude be like, man, I don't have time for this. If he cut that corner, you have literally just blocked your whole blessing by entertaining and intertwining your most valuable assets on a temporary person. And that's real talk. Okay? You have blocked your whole blessing. I understand and I know, I'm going to go off topic for a second. I know that there are many layers and different facets of a soul tie that I haven't even scratched the surface. I haven't even touched on it yet. Okay? That's because I really want to hone in and I want to focus solely on soul ties. For those of us who keep intentionally and knowingly creating soul ties with the wrong people, okay? And then in your quiet time, you might be sneaking around, and you ain't sneaking, but you in your quiet time, you might be praying for God to send you a husband. God, I really want to be married, or I really want to get settled down. I want me a decent dude. I want to not share this dude, or I want somebody that I can really be committed to, or I trust, or somebody who really treat me right, or whatever the case may be. Not realizing that you blocked your blessing a long time ago and you still hadn't got it over Joe. You still hadn't got it over Willie or Big Mike. That spiritual consequence, okay? That spiritual consequence to that soul tie that you created with Joe, Willie, or Big Mike. Maybe all three of them. And the goodness that God has for you. That blessing that he has for you. It's hard to be... It's not impossible to be blessed in mess, because I have been, okay? So I'm not going to sit up there and say that the God that I serve is not merciful and he is not forgiving. I'm not saying that for the God that I serve, okay? Because I know that. But I do know that you reap what you sow, okay? That is just a law and an order of this universe, all right? So I didn't want to go too deep, but I understand that we're human beings, okay? But on a spiritual level, there are women, a lot of us need to detox these old relationships. We really need to detox old boyfriends. We really need to detox Willie and Big Mike and Joe. Okay? I'm not saying that you need to be perfect. That's not what I'm saying. And I am saying don't waste your time spending too much time entertaining and intertwining with wrong people, y'all. Because creating soul ties with wrong people does block your blessings, and it does so in various ways. Your mind tied up, your feelings and your emotions are scattered abroad amongst Willie, Joe, and Big Mike. So receiving and giving love to a potential forever dude, it isn't impossible, but do you got room for him? Do you got room for the potential forever dude? Does he have room? Are you eating dinner with him, but you wondering what, you checking your phone? Let me see if Willie then slid in my DM. Let me check and see if Joe texted me. Let me see if Big Mike was able to get away. Let me let him know I'm tied up tonight. This real talk, y'all. Okay? Do you have room for that husband that you've been praying for, or that relationship that you've been hoping for? I'm not saying a perfect relationship. I'm saying a compatible relationship. Okay? Because nobody is perfect. I really don't believe in Mr. Right. I believe in Mr. Right now, but I do believe there are multiple people that you can be compatible with. Okay? But if you believe in Mr. Right, then how you gonna get Mr. Right when Mr. Right now is in the way? Taking up all your mind, your will, and your emotions. Tell me, how is that gonna happen? How you gonna get rid of Mr. Right now? Okay? When you need deep in emotions with him. You need deep in the soul tie with him. Don't use the decent dude to cover up a scandalous past with your other dudes. Don't force him to compete with all them other people. The soul of all those other men that you have shared yourself with have been left behind. Okay? Now, his soul, the potential forever dude's soul and spirit, is hoping for a chance to impress you. So you can keep him around. So he might be vibing you. He might be feeling you. He might want y'all to, take it to the next level. But undealt with soul ties can bring two things. Many things. Conflict and regret. Don't forget resentment. Because if you end up settling for Willie, Big Mike, or Joe, you're going to resent the hell out of them when you get them full time. If you didn't let that forever, the potential forever dude get away. And he was actually a good guy. But conflict and regret are some things that come with undealt with soul ties. And I think that for women, for us, it is dangerous to have a boatload of soulmates. Because the lines become real blurred of whether you are bound by love or you bound by lust. The lines become real blurred for us as women. And many of us are not aware that love and lust, thin line, just like love and hate. Okay? I want to talk about why it's dangerous for women to have soul ties with a lot of different dudes. Okay? To finish this episode, be sure to check out part 4. See you there. Hey guys, be sure to go to my website, klsterling.wixsite.com/I'm enough. That's klsterling.wixsite.com/I'm enough. There you can find links to all of my social media platforms, shirts, books, and did I mention I offer free ebooks? Yes, when you go to my website, klsterling.wixsite.com/I'm enough, click on the ebooks link and it will take you directly to the free ebooks that I offer. I look forward to seeing you guys there. Bye.